Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's August 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly, just a little housekeeping stuff. There will be no, I'm taking off tomorrow, Friday, and taking a long weekend, taking a trip. So, no chart lesson tomorrow. Also, there won't be any mid-morning chart tomorrow, Friday either. So I'm basically taking the full day off to, Thursday and Friday. I'll be back Sunday night, so we'll be back in the office Monday. We'll be back to our regular schedule and chart lesson and all, and mid-morning chart starting again Monday. So just want to make you aware of that, so when you don't see any of those things tomorrow, you won't think I fell off the face of the earth. I'm taking some vacation days. So anyway, let's get to the chart lesson today. Big sell-off today. Prices gapped down here yesterday at the open at 5 o'clock. They did pull back, and I'm not quite sure if they filled that gap. The low there is 45.91, and the high here is 45.93.50. So yeah, it did fill the gap. So we did fill that gap on the daily chart here anyway, and then prices took off, headed lower. So big bearish day. There's not a lot of trades today, believe it or not, because it was a really big down day, but there was a lot of volatility, a lot of up and down, mixed trading, that type of thing. So I would have been there's probably not any longs today. I don't think you want to try to take any longs in that kind of environment. So, and there just weren't that many setups. So you'll see it when we flip over, but I did want to show you the new chart. We went right through the midline. You see this big purple line here. That's a 21 bar EMA moving average. Just same thing we use on all our charts. So we went right through that. We are pulling back in an attempt to test it, or going to bounce there. It looks like we're probably, we could pull back and test it. Excuse me, but the market is definitely a little spooked by the downgrade of the U.S. debt. So they keep telling us how good the economy is and how good everything is, but I think most of us that are out here in the everyday world know better than that. But really, it's neither here nor there. We've got a lot of debt, and they downgraded it. Is it a big deal in the big scheme of things? Probably not. I don't think we're going to default on anything tomorrow. I don't see that happening. But you never know when some crisis could come up the way things are, and it could be an issue. So, but I think short term we're probably okay. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's not good for the market. As you can see, the market does not like it. So big sell-off day. But let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart, go through the trades, and we'll wrap today up. And here's a look at the 2,000 tick chart. It looks like we did not fill that gap up here. It looked like it was filled on the daily chart. Maybe I just didn't look at it right. Maybe I misread it. But it doesn't look like we... Well, actually, that could be... Actually, we did fill the gap from the... There's no gap on the chart. These 2 days overlap. So, because here's the low here. We just didn't fill the gap to the open, which a lot of times we will. So there still is a gap between these two areas that will probably want to be filled, but they did fill the gap between the lows of the day and the high of the day. So these bars would overlap on the daily chart. So that makes sense now. Okay, back to the chart. And you see we had a pretty good day going here, but really from about 11:30 to our cutoff time at 2:30, the volume slows way down, the volatility almost dies, and there's not much happening here. I think most of the heavy selling was done. Nobody was really willing to buy, and so we just kind of chopped along. We did eventually actually we had a break and new low, and we actually had more than a couple of legs down. But we took some of that back at the close, and we're still taking some of it back now. So that's really why there's not a lot of trades. We didn't have much early here. But once this started, there's a few trades in there, but really from about 11:30 on, there's not much price action there. There's definitely not much movement. So that's why you really is, for such a hard down day, there's not a lot of entries here. So it is what it is, but let's zoom on in here where you can see a little better, and we'll run through these trades real quick. 7 o'clock came right in here. There's a 715 news item up here, non-farm employment, so I'd give that time to settle down. You can see not much happened. There's a hidden second entry here. I mean, it's really, there's a move up, back down, then up. It's not a great second entry. I don't think it was worth calling it a hidden second entry, but there is one. Very nice signal bar. It's the first break of this khaki channel. I mean, it's real tempting, but I think you need a lower high or second entry, a true second entry, and you just never get it. So, runs down, and this channel kind of comes back into play. You'll see that. We saw that yesterday. You get a break during the overnight hours, but it's because there's real thin volume. Sometimes you'll get a break, and then the channel reestablishes itself, and I think that's what it looks like it did here. We did end up getting a break, but it keeps going lower, and you get another low, so it's hard to say. But you'll see these breaks occasionally during the overnight session, and then it starts reacting to the channel again, and it just stays in play, and it plays out like there was never really a break. And the reason that happens, I believe, is because there's such thin volume, they can manipulate it a little more than they can during normal hours. So anyway, then you make a new low and you get a first entry, and then I don't know which way this broke first. I think it broke lower and then turned back up, and in that case you wouldn't want to trade that. But if this broke higher and turned down, you might trade that on the engulfing bar. I just can't remember which way it broke, so I'm not sure. So I don't know if you want to take, if it like I said, if it broke higher first and then turned down, I probably would not be afraid to take that trade. It would make it a second entry short, and it is right off the key entry point. It's a little congested, so I just really wasn't sure about that one. I'll mark it green, but I'm just not sure about it because I'm not sure how that broke. But anyway, then we bounce. We got the break and a new low. But anyway, we get another break here. And again, like I said, you don't really want to be going long yet. Close outside. We never even come back and retest the high here. That's how negative. I mean, that's how bearish this market is. But then we just kind of start going sideways. We get a little failed break lower. It comes back. And then it makes a lower high here. This one I'm pretty sure broke higher and then turned down and closed down here. I wouldn't trade it on the engulfing bar regardless because this looks a little like a doji or a bar with a small body. But once this closed bearish and it closes outside this line, since we'd already pushed through once, if it breaks lower right there, I wouldn't have a problem going short on that one. It's not a perfect setup, so I did mark it green. But it does confirm that trend line, and it is a big bearish bar. And when it came back by right there, it is a second entry short. So maybe you take that one. This would be a reversal right here. I didn't mark it, but I think I should have. My problem with this one was it closed back inside this little range. Although it does confirm, we confirmed the trend line, and it's still confirming it right here. So I think if you took that trade, you're okay. And it's a failure. There's plenty of room to get out, even if you wanted to call that a double bottom. And if you look at the measured move, I didn't even put that on here, but it's pretty much a measured move there. And you still got room back down there. So maybe you take that trade. I wasn't crazy about it at the time. I figured we'd get a better, with this big sell-off, we'd probably get some better opportunities, although in the end, you really don't get a lot of them because it just drops, and then there's going sideways. You can't enter into that. Then it drops again, and then we're going up. You do get what looks like an overshoot here. I mean, maybe there's two tiers on it. You could have seen it anyway, but I wouldn't trade this like an overshoot, even if you thought it was. We do get a lower high here, and it's a tradable lower high, but I didn't like it because it was right into the EMA. And we weren't back to this trend line, but we had a break of this one. But that doesn't mean anything. We may get this low before it goes higher again. So it's a possibility that it's another one. I mean, there's several in here you could argue to be green. Here you could say, okay, we got a failure, but there's just too much support across there. But notice what happens. It breaks lower, pulls back, and this actually gaps open here, turns up, and then turns down and closes very bearish. You might even trade that on the engulfing bar because of that big gap up. It'd probably trap people. But even if it closed here, normally I would say don't go low at the don't go short at the low of a bar like that. I mean, this whole move down at that point, let me just show you. That would have been the low point of that move. And I never like to enter on a bar like that. Same thing going upwards. They'll work a lot of times, but they'll trap you and trick you up a lot of times too. So I would want to wait. Again, you might enter on the engulfing bar, but I'd probably wait for this to close. And because the market's so bearish and we just got the first break and no new low, I probably wouldn't have a problem attempting that one. You can see it looked like it was going to fail, and that probably would have ran a few people out, and then it ends up going down anyway. But I like that really, and the reason I like that one is because this really looks like a double top, so a first entry, second entry. It works a little like a failure, but there's also that support across there, and it's like a little breakout pullback short in a very bearish market so far. So drops on down, we get a break. I still don't see anything in there I like. That we bounce off the low side. Again, I wouldn't be buying any longs because you see what happens here. And then you get another trend up, a break, a move to a new high. And this is basically a double bottom, so that's a first entry. So that makes that a new low. So that's a first entry, second entry, nice bearish bar, first break of this big trend line, blue trend line. So I like going short right there. And the bottom just falls out of it. You probably would have got a runner on this one. That would have been a great move. You get a convincing close outside here, a new low, you turn up, then it tries to go lower again, makes a double bottom, bounces, and then we just went sideways really for the rest of the day here. It drops down a little bit just before the close, but for the most part, there's just not much here. And this is dangerous trading. You got to be careful with it. Here we're going sideways. We get a breakout, then we get a lower high with a big bearish bar right there. I like that one. You would hope it'd go the other side. It doesn't. It gets a scalp, no problem. And then it comes back and it breaks out again. And you got this move up, close outside, move to a new high, and a second entry short there. I marked this one green. You couldn't. It's not an engulfing bar, so you couldn't enter it on the engulfing bar. And then this is an inside bar, and it looks a little congested, but we're way away from the EMA. It was a second entry short. If you've got enough room, if you can get in and get enough room back to the EMA there to scalp out, then maybe you take that. I marked it green, but it's not a great trade. It's not my favorite. I would have liked this one better if it would have been a bearish bar, but it's not. Then of course we bounce, and again, I don't know that I would try. This is the first break here, so as strong as that downtrend is, we're going to get a new low. It's just not a matter of if, but more likely when. So it's all about timing to get that part. But you don't want to be buying anything here. It comes back, and we actually get a lower high, but it's congested, not a very good signal bar. Can't enter into the midline. Fails again, comes back. Again, there's just no setups for shorts there. And there's not one the whole way down into the close there. So there just wasn't much. I mean, all the movement came up until about 11:30. And then from there, that's all the price action you had left till 2:30. So 3 hours of price action, and there's not much happening there. So, and then you had 7 to 11, so there's 3 hours here, and look at all that volume and movement. And then the last 3 hours, not much at all. So it made it for a tough trading afternoon. It really did. If you traded this morning, you had some opportunities, but not much this afternoon. So anyway, I got to get out of here. I'm going to wrap it up. who knows what we'll see tomorrow and Friday, but I hope you have a good ending to the week. If you get another trend like this, try to get a piece of it and try to catch a runner and get as much of it as you can if possible. I'll be back Monday, so nothing for there won't be anything on the website or YouTube Thursday and Friday. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'm going to enjoy mine. I'll see you when I get back Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.